And if you think it was just because we were going to do this program in the town of Plattsburgh today that I dressed up with a shirt and a tie and a shamrock and a green tie and right here, no, it wasn't just for you, although we welcome you to our little corner. It's the 19th day of March 2001. We just came from the annual Chamber of Commerce Irishman of the Year breakfast down at Angel Center at Plattsburgh State, and our good friend and longtime compatriot in the news business, Jack LeDuc from WCAX Channel 3 Television, was this year's recipient, and it was delicious to get Jack back the way they did it to me in 1996. We're at the town of Plattsburgh. Not the town of Plattsburgh, we're in the town of Plattsburgh of the Clinton County Highway Department along Route 3, almost directly across from the Clinton County Airport. The vistas here on a beautiful, bright and sunshiny, almost spring day in 2001 are fabulous. I've abandoned my heavy overcoat and I hope I never have to wear it again for the rest of this season. These are the days we dream about all year long. We've covered many of the county highway, or many of the county departments, and Calvin said, what do you say today we go and talk to the county highway department and Al Rasco? And I said, sounds like a plan. So we're going to go inside and talk to Al and talk to some of the staff members and find out how and why this crew did such a beautiful job in all the storms all winter long around the Clinton County highways. As you join us for another good session, I hope, of our little corner. Really, I think we should have done the whole program out in the parking lot. This day was really quite a beautiful day, as you could see the mountains in the distance and right across the Clinton County Airport. But we're inside and upstairs and down the hall to the left. Those were the directions I got when I went inside. The Clinton County Highway Department with Al Rasco. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Dave Langlois. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Great to be here. Thank you for inviting us into your inner sanctum here. You didn't clean this desk off just for me today, did you?
No, it's always this clean.
You ought to see my desk at work. I can't wait to get back there. Just shuffle the things around so it looks like I've been busy anyway. We've been a long time coming here. We've talked about it before, but it just happens that the opportunity arrived today after the Irishman of the Year breakfast this morning, and our good friend Jack LeDuc was honored, and that was fun, and now we came down to see you.
Well, it's very good to have you here. And we're very honored to have a chance to show off our highway department.
You know, a lot of people have no idea what goes on the inside. We've been to a lot of the county offices. We interviewed Clinton County Administrator Bill Bingle a short time ago to get the general gist of what's going on, and we have stopped at quite a few of the offices, but we've never been here. I drive by this building at least twice or four times every day of my life and see the activity over here, but never have an opportunity to stop in, so we're glad to be here. How long have you been here, Al?
Well, I've been here since '93, superintendent since '97, early '97.
So that's your official title, Superintendent of Highways?
Yes, prior to that I was deputy superintendent.
And what's your title, Dave?
Engineering assistant.
All right.
In effect, Dave is the deputy because that position was more or less abolished after I took over, and Dave has become the deputy under a different title.
When was this facility built?
I believe
anybody have any idea?
Somewhere around 1900.
Then they had a fire, I believe, and rebuilt in '55.
55?
Yeah.
Right.
This building right here dates back to 1955?
Yeah, these
Wow.
offices were renovated in 1994.
I know there was a lot of work. I couldn't remember exactly the year, but it's almost 7 years ago then, huh? Wow.
Yes, this area of the building, the administrative offices and these offices were completely renovated from top to bottom.
It sure looks great. Looks brand new. Smells brand new. The only thing I didn't notice was a coffee pot on my way in, though, today, but that's all right.
There is one there.
Oh, there is one.
You kept looking to the left. It's off to the right.
We may have to pause somewhere in the course of this program to take a sip. I love coffee. How big a staff?
We got 41 employees.
Do you really?
Right. 28 people are actually available on the road as crews. We've got 3 mechanics and an inventory coordinator, and then I've got the receptionists out front and the billing, counting department, and 2 other engineering people downstairs.
There's a lot to talk about today because, as I said, our general viewers just don't have an idea what a county highway department does. And they don't know what the separation is between the state highway department and the county highway department and the town highway departments. Sam Castine says hello, by the way.
Well,
Up
Sam's
there.
a very good friend of mine.
Up there in Champlain, he wanted to make sure we say hello to Al. He's so happy to be associated with you. Calvin's brother, Calvin Castine's brother, Sam, is the superintendent up in Champlain. Has had the job for what, almost 2 years? Is it?
In the ice storm.
Yeah, the ice storm. There you go. 1998. Going on 3 years then, huh? Wow.
Al and Dave.
Yeah.
Al and Dave.
He knows us both. He knows us
I'm
both.
sorry,
very well,
Dave.
yeah. That's okay.
So anyway, yeah, you work with the towns, don't you?
Oh, yes, we do. It's a cooperative effort. There's jurisdictional lines, state, county, town. The county's got 360 miles of county roads and 104 bridges.
How many miles?
360.
Wow. See,
Lane-
those are
lane
figures
mile.
we never hear.
Lane mile equivalent, we have as many as the state does in this region. So, and that counts, like the thruway, they count lane miles. That's 4. Every mile of the thruway is 4 lane miles because there's 4 lanes, obviously. So we have a lot of roads to maintain, and the staff today is probably half of what it was 10 years ago in terms of employees.
That amazing. So this place has changed a considerable amount since you took over.
Yes, it has. The one thing that keeps us very efficient is that the legislature has been very generous in terms of keeping our equipment modern, replacing. We don't have to worry about breakdowns. Equipment's on the road more, it's in the garage, and that's pretty key when you're trying to get something done.
You don't plow as much. You don't plow as many miles of highway as you did, say, 15 years ago, do you?
No, we don't. Actually, even probably 7 years ago, we used to plow several miles of the state roads, and we stopped that in '95, I believe it was. So we plow out of the county highway. We have a garage in Ellenburg, and we plow the miles, town road miles in Ellenburg, county road miles in the town of Ellenburg. It's about 40 miles.
Do you contract with other organizations to do certain plowing?
We contract with each of the towns to maintain our county roads within those towns. So the other 13 towns we have contracts with that are 3-year contracts.
So it kind of trickles down from here down through into the towns then.
Yeah, I mean, the rationale behind it is that the towns, oftentimes, in order to get to their roads that they have to plow, have to travel over our county road to get there. So why travel with your blade up?
Makes
You know,
perfect sense to me.
everybody saves in the long run. It's a little bit cheaper for them to go ahead and take care of our road as they go through.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we knew there was a master plan, and most people, as I said, are concerned about the roads that they travel, the street or road in front of their house on the way to work and back, and if that's fine, that they get high praise for whoever took care of it all winter long. Before we get into all the intricacies, though, I just want to find out a little background about you guys. Where are you from, and what's your education, and how did you finally end up here?
Well, actually, I'm from Plattsburgh. I was born here. And I went to college at SUNY Buffalo.
Did you?
Yeah, we have a degree in engineering. And subsequent to that, I became a licensed professional engineer in New York State. I worked 14 years on the Air Force Base in facility maintenance and design engineering, and then became in charge of the environmental program for the last 3. When they announced the closure, fate had it. There was an opportunity. I became deputy superintendent at the solid waste department at the landfill, and then moved down here about 3 months
That was the
later.
transition. Huh?
Right. I came here about 3 months later, and then eventually took over the head spot.
So that's where you've been. You've been around the horn and back again, huh?
Yes, I have, but I've never left Plattsburgh,
No, that's
which is what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay here.
That's great. You know, there's a lot of talk about, boy, there's nothing for anybody to do. At least this was the hue and cry for so many years. Our young people have to go to college out of town, have to take jobs. They can't make a living here. Guess what? I know a lot of people like you and me and Calvin and a lot of folks who decided to stay here or who went away to school and came back. And there are a lot worse places to live and work in the world. You know that?
Absolutely. I had the taste of Buffalo, and no way.
We see the snow reports in Buffalo, too. Dave, get over here a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about your background.
I'm born and raised in Plattsburgh. I lived here through the end of high school. Went down, spent a little bit of time in Virginia Beach for about a year or so. Came back, went to school at Clinton Community College. From there, went to University of Maryland down in College Park. I worked down there for a surveying engineering firm for 3-4 years. Came back to Plattsburgh. Enjoyed my stay down there, but it was a little hectic. And there was a lot of downsizing going on in the late 80s and early 90s. So I ended up coming back. I worked with Bob Sutherland for a year.
Did you really?
And then
What a guy.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great guy. And the position, the fellow that was here at the position that I'm in now was retiring. Applied for took the test, and here I am. It's been 9 years in the highway department for me.
Really? 9 years?
9 years.
You guys got a little experience. Actually, you've got some other people working for you who've been around for a long time, too, haven't you?
Oh, a lot of our foremen have been here 25 plus years, and actually we're very fortunate because they know all the ins and outs of any particular problems and very good at what they do.
There's a lot to be said for longevity in a job. If somebody does their job well and learns things, it's worth it to try to keep them around, isn't it? Huh?
Absolutely. I would not want to lose any of them.
That's great. Of course, as I said before, we've looked inside various county departments and other businesses, institutions here in the North Country, and turnover is a problem in some places. We've had a recent, fairly sizable turnover in our Clinton County Probation Department, and I see the pain that it is to train new people, get new people in the job, and it's really tough when you have to retrain somebody new for somebody who's been in a job for 15 years, 20 years, 25 years.
It's very difficult, and one of the first things I did in '97 was we went through a complete department-wide evaluation of all the grades and titles, and many of the employees got promoted to grades that were more fitting to the type of work they did, and we don't really have turnover. That's one thing I can say. We have our permanent employees have pretty much been here right up till they retire. So,
and there are a lot of reasons for that. I notice people, especially in this part of the country, seem to operate under the old work ethic. They get in a job and they like it and start to raise their family, and if the job, in this case Clinton County, treats them right, they tend to hang around, and that's not a bad idea.
no, and it's very good because the productivity stays high, and we are able to train. Even as the guys retire, we're able to bring in 2 or 3 employees and train them on the equipment and get them up to speed and give them quite a few years to get really good at it, proficient.
That's great. Let's talk a little bit about what happens around here in the course of a day or a month or a year. I know a lot of things that highway departments do are seasonal, and I don't know how you would look back and describe this past winter, but it was a challenge for a lot of folks.
I think I'd describe it as a return to normalcy. We've had a pretty easy time over the last
Isn't that
5
what
or
they told
6
us it
winters.
was going to be, right?
Yes.
For once they were right. This might be a normal winter.
That's right, and I'd say it was. We were out very frequently in Ellenburg. Our crews were out. This last 30-inch storm, fortunately, the county only plows and maintains roads in the town of Ellenburg, but we maintain a lot of extra equipment down here. We have 3 spare plows, all set up to go.
Oh.
We have 2 big, large road snow blowers, highway snow blowers, and during the course of the storm, all that equipment was utilized to help out town, state, everybody.
Dave, we're kind of funny up here, and I don't mind poking fun at ourselves. We go around griping and complaining, all the snow. Oh no, Tom says there's going to be another northeaster this weekend. Oh no. But guess who's right out there with the biggest yardstick they can find, hoping that we broke all kinds of records with 68 feet of snow. Isn't it funny how human nature is?
Oh, it's really amazing. We kind of watch the computer system. We get on the internet. We watch the storm roll in. We listen to everybody predicting prior to the storms. And I usually tell people, about what's going to happen on Wednesday. I'll let you know Friday what the forecast was going to be for that past Wednesday. I mean, because nobody can really tell anymore, especially the past storm that we weren't supposed to get. There was quite a bit of guessing and I don't know what you would call it, but predicting that just you never know. You never know. We put some extra equipment together prior to the storm. It's a good thing we did because we needed it. We really did. So.
Well, you know, the meteorologists down around the metropolitan area really took the schnitzel this time.
Well, I took a lot of harassment for a few days.
You too?
Saturday I called in, I called Dave and had him call in 2 or 3 employees to harness up some extra snow plows. And of course by Sunday they were saying we weren't going to get any snow anymore. And Monday morning I took a lot of grief from some of my senior supervisors over overtime, but by Tuesday night they kind of just said, now it's your turn for the next year. So so we made the right call. You never know, and it's better to be prepared than it is to be in a big problem.
You know, I've always said when you want to know what the weather is, though, talk to people who have to get outside and walk on the highways. Farmers like to know what the weather is, and they can actually be hurt at many times of the year. This is something Calvin and I have discussed on this program. If they get an improper weather forecast in the summertime, it can be devastating when they're planning to do something or not do something on a given weekend. But highway people pretty much have to know what's happening ahead of time, or they can end up holding the bag. So I know how careful you people watch the weather. The same is true of the state crews. I know they watch the weather tremendously.
Yeah, I mean, if you get behind in a snowstorm, you're almost defeated before you start. You have to get up early and stay on it, and we use a lot of the internet services in terms of radar and weather forecasts through the National Weather Service.
You know, it's not, we like to compare these days with the old days, and I won't put Calvin in the same boat with me, but I've been around watching the way roads are plowed and dealt with for a lot of years here in the North Country. Things have changed. We're talking real science now and how you deal with ice and snow on the roadways, right, Dave?
That's correct. With a lot of the senior guys here, it's amazing to see. When we think of a snowplow, you put sand in the back of it, they go down the road. I've heard stories that their sanders, they used to get 3-4 guys in the back of a pickup truck
That's how
with a
it
plow,
works.
and they'd take their shovels and they'd sand the roads. And I say I don't believe you, you know, but they swear that's the way it was, and I just find that very difficult to believe that that's how roads were sanded. But of course, I don't know anything else. All I've ever seen is the sanders on the back of plows. But to talk to some of these old timers, it's great to learn how they did things back then.
We love history, and I read a lot of books about the Adirondack region. I also like to talk to people who are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and 100 years old about what life was like when they were younger. And I will never forget making a trip to the Adirondack Museum in Blue Mountain Lake one time, even before Calvin and I went, and taking my wife's father, the late Alfred Vaughn, with us. And he lived in the Saranac Lake region, worked in lumber camps and so on. And they had some old equipment up there for rolling the roads. They had this great giant roller that would be pulled by horses to roll the snow down, to pack it down, because they had no way to plow it. Can you imagine
I hadn't
how
thought
high
of that.
that road might be by spring?
We have those. Maybe we should try that. I don't know.
They actually rolled the roads back in those days, and then come spring, just picture what was happening. As that road ended up about 5 feet high by the spring, and then would just go down and would be an absolute quagmire, because it was they were dirt roads or corduroy roads back in those days.
Must have been like August by the time it
Yeah.
got down to the original road.
And they have, you know how long we've seen, what was the year, 96, right, when we had the double whammy in 96 around here, and you were talking when I first came in here today about how's that shot rock doing behind our house in Morrisonville, because, 96 was just devastating. 2 times in the spring and in the fall we had unbelievable weather with the floods and the ice, and great, huge, giant pieces of ice just folding my chain link fence in the backyard down like it was made out of a tinker toy material, and big trees coming down the river. And so it there was an awful lot of erosion. When that happens in the spring, there's a lot of erosion. I was telling Al before the program started today how I've lost maybe 12 feet of riverbank over the last 30 years behind our house because I'm very, very close to the river. But that idea to bring in that big shot rock that year, that staved off absolute terminal disaster for my house. So you never know where you're going to be or what you're going to do over the years, but times do change a lot. In the old days, there's a far cry from those old days of rolling the roads, and they had rudimentary plows that they didn't even have shaped right, actually, but they didn't know for a while. And then into snow plows that we remember, and we'd like to do nostalgia quite a bit on this program, and yes, I can remember as a youngster living in Messina, snowbanks as high as the top of the telephone wires, because they didn't have, until the 50s, they didn't have the giant blowers to come and take some, and to take some of that stuff away. So they just keep plowing it back and plowing it back, plowing it back, and so we think we got high snowbanks now. In those days, they did approach the top of the telephone and the telegraph wires, and then there you go with the mess. Now, I see after this storm, I watch the crews out a few days later, cutting the banks down, cutting the banks down, cutting the banks down. And that, I'm sure, prevented a lot of accidents, if nothing else.
Well, it's two things. One is prevention of accidents, cutting back the intersection so you have sight distance. The other part of that is, I mean, if you get another storm, you have to have some place to put it. And if you don't wing those banks back or blow them back, then you're going to have a big problem.
You know, I have to take a moment to pay tribute to snowplow operators here in the North Country. Our son Dale works for DOT and has for a long time. And I just sat in one of those big trucks one time, and I started to break out in a cold sweat just sitting in the seat. And I'm looking at all the levers. You know, some storms you have a wing operator. Sometimes you're doing it all by yourself. That's almost an art form, isn't it?
Yes, it is. There's quite a large system of plows. Well, the slusher, it's 12 feet wide. The wing sits out there. You need to know the bounds of your truck, so to speak, so that when you meet oncoming traffic, which seems to be pretty much on a regular basis these days. There's a lot of high traffic roads, and they're trying to plow them. You need to know what you have and what the bounds of your trucks are, so you can get around different obstacles as they
How
appear.
they keep from wiping out mailboxes and cars parked under snowbanks, and I don't understand how they get through every year without major accidents. It's like I said, it's a real art.
It is. It's very difficult. This year was the first year that county highway dropped down to one operator per plow. We used to have one to run the wing controls, but then the trucks were set up that way. And over the years, we've gotten a few new pieces of equipment.
Well, the state did that for all but the most serious storms a few years ago.
Well, our crews up in Ellenburg have gone exclusively to the one man per plow operation, so the operator is running the wing. But down here in this last storm, the trucks we sent out of Plattsburgh here, we put two people in them for safety because we were plowing like Tom Miller Road. Cumberland had, a lot of obstacles, obstructions on the side, and they're not used to plowing these roads. So
We've got people viewing this program who won't parallel park a compact car. And I know what it's like to tow a trailer because we go camping every year, and you know that's a different ball game when you only do it once or twice a year. But to get in a piece of big equipment like this, and as you said, to know where the front and back and the limits are on both sides, that's amazing. And they even have, I know the state even has competitions. They call them rodeos. And you watch these people, they set up parking lots, and what they can do with a huge snowplow and a wing is absolutely incredible.
yes, it is. I mean, the guys that have done it for a long time they're amazing.
That's why I try to keep them, right?
Yes, sir.
I mentioned before, Dave, I was talking about science. You got to know what the temperature is going to be tonight before you set the trucks out, and you got to know what combination you're going to put in that sander in the back to make the roads, because people these days, that's another difference between now and way back when. Way back when, you expected to have 6 inches of snow packed down on the highway, now people expect bare roads when they go to work the next morning. So you got to get up pretty early to figure out what formulas you're going to put down and what you're going to put down.
That's true. A lot of it depends, well, it's all dependent on the temperature. Salt only will work 18 to 20 degrees and above. Below that, you just need to put a mixture, your sand mixture down, because you'll be wasting your salt material.
So you do have to know. It requires some real serious thinking to know what to do on a given day, or you can end up with a lot of egg on your face, right?
Oh, absolutely. And on top of that, you have the environmental aspect now. Everybody's concerned about salt. We very seldom run straight salt out of our plows. We either run a half sand, half salt mix, or maybe a little bit more salt, depending on the icing conditions. But very seldom do we apply straight salt.
And do you have anything else besides salt? Aren't there other combination materials that some of the organizations are using besides regular salt?
Well, there's some new products out there called Ice Band, and they have other names for it. It's an additive. DOT has been using it, and we're kind of waiting for their results. They haven't come out
That's
and
a good
said,
idea.
well, we're going to let them spend their money first, because it's pretty expensive to buy, and the jury's out on how effective it is versus the current materials we have.
Every year I kind of pay attention to the news and radio and television. Being a media person for so long, I like to see what stories they're covering, and every year they're covering, well, how many snow days do the kids have left? That's what most parents are interested in. Never mind the snow days that you and I might get. And once in a while, the county will close down, as it did during that storm. But other things are affected too during the snow time. During the snow time, when people are out and plowing, and you got all this sand that's left over after the winter is finished, right?
That's not going to be a problem this year.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the sand will probably be off the roads, but then you got the cleanup that follows. That's right.
You see parking lots. For example, I looked out in the front of the plaza in the Clinton County Government Center, and they put so much sand down over the winter to keep the walks safe. And somebody got to go and shovel that or sweep it or...
Yeah, well, we send out, we got our brooms and vac truck, and we spend the springtime sweeping all the roads and the intersections and cleaning up and trying to do our best to get most of that material collected.
Are you responsible for plowing or working on any dirt roads that might be left over in this county?
No, we don't have any dirt roads that are left. They're all paved roads.
See, that's another huge difference from when we were kids. I lived down in Franklin County, graduated from high school in Moira, and there were an awful lot of dirt roads back in the late 1940s, right up through the 1950s, that the various departments were responsible for, and that's a whole different ballgame.
Oh, yes, it
Because
is.
you got to grade them in good weather.
You got to grade them, you have to treat them, and there's a lot of maintenance on the dirt road.
And now highways, just take a look out here. Look at how Route 3, right? Route 22B, but Route 3 between here and we're west of Plattsburgh, across from the Clinton County Airport, for those people who may not spend a lot of time up here. Just look at how this highway has changed in the last 40 years between here and the west end of Plattsburgh.
Oh, absolutely. It's tremendous, the amount of growth that's happened along this road.
It was I won't say a cow path, but it was a very narrow two-lane highway when I first came here.
Well, actually, I can remember when it was a two-lane road, and it got it.
We know Dave can't remember.
No, I won't put him in that category. But yeah, it was upgraded, and actually, it was just redone last year. And it's a heavily traveled road, 20,000 cars a day.
How much actual highway construction does the county do?
Well, we don't do any of the bridge replacement projects, but in terms of the actual roads, we started an accelerated paving program last year. We've been doing like 25 miles a year since '97, and last year we did 42 miles, and the county legislature approved the money from the tobacco funds,
Oh, yeah.
which gave us
That's
a big
another-
boost, and we plan on doing 40 miles this year and another probably 40 miles next year. So in 7 years we should be pretty much all new roads in the county system.
You know, we think about that. You know, when a pair of shoes wear out, we have to get a new pair of shoes. When a highway gets in pretty rough shape, you got to go after it. How about potholes? What do you do about that? I mean,
Potholes are
Patch and patch until
you
we
just
catch up with them.
yeah. And if you don't find them, the people let you know they're there. They'll call.
I have a feeling that happens.
And you can pretty much plan on when the potholes are going to be coming out. This time of year is perfect for pothole season. You get the warm days, you get the water running, you get a little hole, the traffic keeps hitting it, it gets bigger and bigger, and then freezes at night, the water gets underneath the asphalt, freezes it, breaks up some more. During the day, it thaws out a little bit, traffic hits it some more. So we have 2 patching units that are tow-behind units that'll hold approximately 4 ton of material, and we get 2 or 3 guys out on each one and just travel the roads and let them hit all the potholes they can find.
Is there a difference between cold patch and hot patch and all the different things you use at different times of the year?
Well, of course, it's like everything else. There's cold mix and special patching materials we do in the wintertime. The hot mix isn't available, obviously. The plants aren't up. And then in the summertime, we go right back to the hot mix asphalt for the patching. Springtime's a terrible time of year. Frost coming out. It's very difficult. That's one of the reasons as we get further along in this pavement rehabilitation program, we'll have less and less of that.
This situation has got to be a little different than living in Miami, Florida. Let's talk a little bit about what happens to highways with all these temperature extremes and things that we have up here, and why it's more difficult here.
Well, you get a lot of heaving action, frost action, and of course in the springtime, these road beds are pushed up. You start getting your traffic back on them as the road beds soften. The wheel weights start to move the asphalt, and you get a lot of cracking. Potholes pavement starts to fall apart and deteriorate much more quickly. That's one of the reasons that we post the roads, certain roads in this county, for legal weight limits during the springtime, like from now through middle of April.
Oh, you do?
Yes, we do. In fact, it was March 15th the posting went into effect this year. 5-ton axle limit, load limit on about 20 different roads in the county.
Does that mean the big truckers have to find alternate routes, or what happens?
Well, the county and the towns all post certain roads, but yes, the big truckers would have to find logging operations, would either have to shut down, find an alternate route. You know, we do try to work with the area businesses, so if the temperatures stay kind of cold during the evening hours, we may allow them under a special permit to haul certain loads from, say, 8 o'clock at night prior to 7 in the morning. So we work with a lot of logging companies that way.
No, a load of logs obviously going to weigh a lot more than a load of sludge or garbage, so they probably don't have that problem with most of the trucks that go back and forth to the landfill, right?
Well, some of the trucks that go back and forth to the landfill could be affected, but generally in our posting we exempt service vehicles and emergency vehicles. So like the garbage truck that has to get your household trash can go in, and that's not a problem. Delivery trucks like UPS, that type of thing, might be over the 5-ton limit, but yet they're exempt from the posting. I mean, things that you rely on day to day, we exclude from that.
I don't think the average citizen watching this program even looks at roads that are posted or not posted, because it doesn't affect us with automobiles.
No, it doesn't. No, there's no effect whatsoever. It's just the large trucking industry.
People better know that, right? Dave, let's talk a little bit about some of the other jobs that people do here in Clinton County. You said how many employees? 40-something?
41. Like you said, 28 are out on the road. We have a bridge crew that does a lot of maintenance on the bridges. They'll do some repairs. New York State DOT inspects the bridges. And they'll issue flag notices for deficiencies on the bridges. We have a crew that will go out, take care of the certain deficiencies if it's within the realm of their capabilities. You get into a deep river where there's a lot of undercutting of the abutments, the concrete. We have to hire a firm that will come in, divers that will come in and place concrete under the water. That's pretty much a special outfit, but they've done a lot of that scour repair for us. We have a guide rail crew that installs a lot of the guide rail in the county. We have a sign maintenance crew that will do a lot of the paint striping in the summertime. They'll do the signing, making sure the signs are in the right spots, the right height, the right position off the road, maintain the traffic lights and all the traffic markings throughout the county. We got several road crews that do a variety of tasks, from our springtime cleanup, picking roadside litter during the springtime. They'll do our paving. They'll do cross culvert replacement. We cut shoulders in preparation for new roads. They are other crews that will maintain, will do the patching, do pothole patching, things like that we talk about. Those crews pretty much, the road crews pretty much do a wide variety of those tasks. We have a mechanic, 3 mechanics that take care of the fleet here at the highway department. They'll do everything from the cars to the big trucks and the big loaders, and they do all the repairs, pretty much to keep the vehicle fleet running.
And a lot of these things that Dave has just mentioned, by the way, we're talking with Al Rasco and Dave Langlois here at the Clinton County Highway Department. A lot of these things are things that most of us would just take for granted. Who would think that you'd had to have a special crew for signage? But yeah, signs do need to go up and be taken down for one reason or another, need to replace. Who would think that you need bridge crews? Well, think about it. Everybody's talking, politicians are always talking about bridges and how many bridges have problems. And occasionally it's necessary to close a bridge, right?
Yes,
We've seen that happen in our neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, during the floods, there was a lot of bridges closed, but routinely, very rare, we might get a notice where we have to close a bridge, and it's ordered by the state.
Sometimes bridges just get so old, and then municipalities don't have the money to replace the bridge or upgrade it at the time, so it's closed either temporarily or permanently if there's another way to use that bridge. I think up past my house, up down past there, Dorrance, the Kent Falls Bridge, which was, is an icon as bridges go for a long, long time, and then it was closed for a very good reason. It just couldn't stand the traffic anymore.
That's right. I mean, we see these inspection reports, and it comes down to money. You're absolutely right. If you have a bridge that the detour around is 5 minutes or less, or in some cases there's a second bridge within 500 feet, obviously it doesn't make sense to spend money on two structures or keeping a structure open when it can be better used elsewhere.
We're going to take a little break and come back and continue our tour of the Clinton County Highway Department. Sometimes I forget this is a visual medium. I spent so many years on the radio, I stand there with a microphone and get all the talking done, and Calvin says, we got to show pictures, So we're down here in the garage. Al, that Oshkosh doesn't look like it was built last Tuesday.
No, I think that's actually a 78 or 76
Is it
machine.
really? Boy, and you didn't have to take this all apart just for us today.
Well, we wanted to give you special effects. Actually, it's been out almost 2 weeks straight, nonstop, so it's time for a little routine maintenance on it.
What is this, Dave?
It's a snowblower, Oshkosh snowblower.
It's. I don't think many of our people have looked at them up real close. When they're on the highway and they're working, they're trying to get by them just as quickly as they can. That's quite an amazing machine.
Well, it's got a capacity of about 2,200 tons an hour.
Come on.
No. It can throw a lot of snow in a hurry, more than your little average snowblower. We have the mate to that, which is a four-wheel drive, a little bit smaller size, but same output, about 2,200 tons an hour, and we keep that up in Ellenburg.
Talk about a workhorse, huh?
Oh, it's scary when you see that coming at you and those front augers are spinning. You just don't want to be in front of it.
The guy who's just bought himself a brand new 5 horsepower whatever for his driveway this year thinks he's got a moving machine till you take a look at one of these. And there are snowblowers bigger than that.
Oh, yes, there are. Actually, not a whole lot bigger, though. I think the largest capacity that we've seen is probably about 2,800 tons an hour.
Is it really?
We're pretty well up there.
I don't know what they use on the thruway, do you?
State's got several blowers,
Yeah.
but similar to this.
You know, one thing that is interesting to me, we talk about neighbors helping neighbors here in the North Country, and you guys went to work in the city during this storm. And sometimes I notice DOT here, for example, will be sending trucks out of the area to go and help in metropolitan areas, and this storm confused everybody because we thought they were going to get hit on, so we were sending equipment to Long Island when it was needed here, and all of a sudden we're saying help. But you do go back and forth and help each other out, right? Sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. The state helps us out fairly often. In this last storm, that blower actually opened up 374 up in Shazy for the state. When they had a problem, we went to the towns. Oh yeah, we went to at least 3 or 4 of the towns during the last storm with the blowers and actually our snowplows.
You know, there are certain areas in Clinton County, I remember this from being on the radio, that are horrendous during almost every storm, especially when there's wind. Down around Ellenburg, I used to hear him talking about, right there by the cemetery, that's blowing in again, right?
Yeah, that, or out by Gregory's Curve, or this fella's house or that fella's house. When I first got here, I'd hear that a lot. Talking with the guys, and I never knew where they were talking about. But as you get around the roads and as you get around these guys, you learn that you know where Cody's Hill is, or Gregory's Curve.
You don't necessarily want to go to Shazy Lake when the wind's 40 miles an hour in a blizzard, do you?
Not if you can help it.
So you know where the bad spots are, and that's why you keep equipment at different places around, right? The state has, don't they have something up at Ledger's Corners?
They have Ledgers. They have down in Keysville. They have salt sheds and a lot of different places. Moffettsville. For us, we have Ellenburg Garage right at Ellenburg Corners, and then we have this garage here.
Now, as I said before, while we're upstairs in your office, people tend to take things for granted when everything's going all right. Soon as something isn't going all right in their front yard or the road they're traveling, then they're going to gripe and complain, and then we'll learn a little more. Now you're getting right down to the nuts and bolts of the operation here in the County Highway Department. That's why I'm so glad you brought us in here today. You have quite a bit of garage space, don't you?
Oh, yes, we do. We have the 3 bays here for the mechanics, exclusively for equipment maintenance. And out in the other garage, we've got all our heated parking, and then out in the backyard, which we'll go later, was cold storage parking, another 7,000 square feet.
You have your own parts and inventory facility, which people wouldn't necessarily realize till you show it to them. But you got to have that stuff standing by.
Oh yes, these mechanics are always repairing something. Cars, like I said before, cars, the trucks, the heavy equipment, loaders. Of course, we don't stock everything, but we stock a lot of the preventative maintenance items, the fluids, the oils, the filters, a lot of the headlamps, the light bulbs, everything that they need to use on a regular basis that would either rattle loose, get broken, things like that. For the major overhauls, we go to the dealer, get the parts, and then they're here pretty quick.
You have to contract the big stuff, right? You have to have contracts.
We don't, as far as equipment repair goes, we don't contract very much work at all. It's pretty much done right here in the garage. Occasionally, warranty things, items under warranty, we obviously take that into the dealer. But beyond that, we pretty much do everything.
I meant when you want to buy something that's major, you have to put it out to contract.
We go out to bid, or we buy off state contract. That's right. On the other side of the garage, we have a tire room where we have the ability to balance, change tires, and we keep a stock of tires for every piece of equipment in this department. We keep 2 on hand.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah, because you can't, we can get them readily, but at 2 o'clock in the morning and you have a flat tire on a snowplow, you can't get anybody out of bed to get it, so we stock them here.
And breakdowns will kill you when you're right in the middle of something, right?
Well, that's the worst thing that can happen to you, and you get a breakdown in the middle of a snowstorm, you're in big trouble.
Thank God for radios and trucks and things now.
Absolutely. That's where helping people come in, because we have a breakdown, town's got a spare piece of equipment, state, they would definitely send it to us, and vice versa.
Now, the reason we've taken the snowblower down is not because it's necessarily broken, right? Okay.
Well,
is it maintenance more than anything, or what?
It's a lot of it's maintenance. We had noticed that there was a leak on one of the chain that runs the augers on the other side, and you could take a look at that. There was starting to be a leak. It wasn't broken, but if you let those kind of things go, it will cause damage, more damage than what it's worth. So we try to catch things ahead of time. We noticed that there might be a minor thing wrong with a piece of equipment. We'll try to take care of it, get it in, get it fixed, get it back out, so we can have it when we need it and not cause a lot more cost in repairing it, letting it go.
For any shop, preventative maintenance is very important, isn't it? Take a look at it like an airplane and saying, you know, I think we better catch this now or we're going to be caught in Chazy somewhere.
We have a very big preventative maintenance program. This inventory section is a small part of the inventory. What you see back here, we have a couple other stock areas, and we maintain about $400,000 worth of parts here.
Wow.
And supplies for the road. But the PM, preventative maintenance, we have an automated fuel computer system here. Every employee's got a key. You go out to the pump, you put your key in. It's got a vehicle key, you put that key in. So every time you dispense fuel, it records it to a specific vehicle. And then that's transferred into a computer inside the shop here. And at whatever set frequency, whether it's 3,000 miles or every 1,000 hours, the computer spits out a report that says this vehicle's due for PM. And these are the things that need to be done. It comes out here in a work order, and then it gets done, and we file it in the history of the vehicle. So.
That's amazing. Like I said, there's a lot of science involved here. This is not just flying by the seat of your pants, right?
No, that's not. That's correct. When I first got here, we didn't have any computers. 9 years ago, there wasn't any computers here. They had typewriters, and that's all we had. We've come quite a long ways since that time. All our inventory is computerized. The fuel systems, most of our work is done on computers now, and even with the internet access, watching the weather, you know, we need that. You need that technical, support.
I guess a lot of people, now that I stop to think about it, may not realize that sometimes the equipment that dispenses the salt and the sand is often computerized these days, right?
Yeah, many of the trucks have the computers on them that set the spreading rates and monitor those.
No longer the guy in the back with the shovels that we talked about years ago, right?
Absolutely not.
It's difficult. We talked to old-time firemen who used to go to fires in the middle of the winter in open cabs, those old LaFrance fire trucks. So yeah, things do change.
Oh yeah, I mean even down to the road striping program. The supervisor has a gun. It looks like a gun. It reads the pavement temperature because we have specific temperatures that we have to be over in order to apply the paint. It's all water.
Read the pavement temperature?
Absolutely. If it's not 60, they can't paint.
I think I'm bringing those guys over to cook my oatmeal in the morning to make sure. You gotta be kidding. This is incredible.
The water-based paints that we have to use today, you have to be at least 60 degrees. In fact, our truck is equipped with heaters. We can look at it later. Heaters and everything to maintain a certain temperature of the paint so that when we put it on the road, it dries within a few seconds after it's applied.
That's amazing. Well, we want to look at a lot of stuff. Whatever you want to show us, we want to look at. So let's continue the tour at the County Highway Department. Well, it says wet paint, so I guess we came to the right place.
It's definitely the striping truck. It's about 3 years old, this piece of equipment.
Looks brand new to me.
Yeah, it's well maintained. We take care of it over the winter. Alan and his sign crew, they go through it, change all the guns out, clean the paint. Everything has to be done every year. They do any maintenance on it. But this truck, it's all computerized as well. The rear cab, if you get in, it's got the dual steering controls, primarily to move the guns in and out, which puts your lines down on the road. It's radio contact from the operator back to these people running these paint guns, and they can do the double, the solid, they can stripe and double, they can do just about anything they want at one time here, up to I think about 12 lines at a time, but not that we have that many.
I could never imagine, how do they know where the exact middle of the road is, and how do they know where to put the white lines on the sides, and how do they know?
Well, actually, there's a couple of things. One is in the front, there's a bubble that if you look directly through the center, will line you up dead center with the road, and you just follow it. But he's also got a wheel that he can line up on center line, and with a little experience, of course, you keep it very well.
Oh, a guy's got to be specially trained to run a gargantuan machine like this, right, Dave?
Yes, because if you oversteer or overcorrect and the guys in the back aren't paying attention, you're going to have a lot of curved lines on the roads. So, oh yeah, you need to know where you're going.
Some of those in some other areas, and you wonder what the sobriety state was of the guy that put the lines down.
Well, this truck was purchased by a bid, and in the bid, with a lot of our equipment, particularly this piece, we put in like 72 hours of on-site training with a factory rep on all the controls and the operation, and then after that, it's all experience. So,
Well, it's a striping project is a big part of what you do. Talk a little bit more about that. How much striping do you do and where?
well, we start usually around May 15th. Like I said, we got to have 60-degree pavement temperature, and we stripe all 360 miles of the county road system. And while we're going through the various towns, any town that wants us to provide striping services, which almost every town does now, we'll stripe those roads as well. So you can probably add another 300-400 miles there.
Now, is that on a contract with each town, or how does that work?
We do that on a rate. It's a reimbursement rate,
I see.
but it's our cost. We don't enter any contract per se, but it's just strictly our time and materials
And that how often do you do the whole system?
every year.
Every single year, and that's because the paint wears down, or what?
Well, the paint doesn't always wear down, but just in an effort to keep the lines as bright as we can, and rainy nights, so you can see those edge lines, center lines. We do it every year.
I can't even imagine what kind of special paint it must take to be able to put. I mean, we try to keep it on our walls and make it paint that's washable, but I mean, on a highway, we're talking punishment here.
And believe it or not, it's a water-based paint.
Come on.
No, it's
Why am
water-based.
I getting an
and-
education today? A water-based paint.
And it's added. One of the two tanks are white and yellow on the truck, and there's a third tank for the glass. It's called glass beads. They're just a little tiny
yeah.
round bead, and it's mixed inside the truck, and it comes out the guns applied all at the same time, so that you get the right amount for reflectivity of the lines at night.
And that wasn't always true. I wonder when they started adding that reflective stuff, but that wasn't always true like when I was a kid, I don't think.
No, it was probably around maybe 15 years ago.
Really?
Yep.
Now tell me about, I've seen in some areas people who were not painting stripes on, but were pressing stripes on. What's that all about? Do you do that or not?
We do some of that. That's a tape material. We do it primarily at intersections.
Intersections, yes.
Your stop bars, things like that, crosswalks. Can be a tape.
What is that? Just a adhesive backed material that you peel something off and lay it down, or what?
That's exactly what it is, and it has a life expectancy about 3 years.
Does it really?
Yep.
Longer than paint?
Longer than paint, but then again, it's a lot more expensive. So we have to look at how frequently we'd be painting it versus the life expectancy on the tape itself. We also have a hand striper, that walk-behind striping unit, that we do the same thing with. The stop bars, the crosswalks, gore areas, or the yellow hatch lines like on Tom Miller Road. It's a lot more efficient than trying to do it with this big truck.
Well, once again, these are things that everybody just takes for granted. I mean, the lines are there. So what? Now you know how the process works, and it's very important. All of this takes a lot of advanced planning. You just don't launch into a new season and say, "Oh, hey, here's what we do today." You have to almost plan your whole year out, don't you?
That's right. We lay it all out with the sign shop foreman, and we try to get the most efficiency out of the county road system in the towns while we're in a given area. It's quite an operation. It's this truck. There's another truck that follows it with an actual supply of barrels of paint. They can reload on the road,
Oh, you can.
so they don't have to stop going.
That's a good idea. It's like the FB-111's being refueled in the air. Huh? Reload on the road.
If we could just train people to read the sign on the follow vehicle that says "Do not pass wet paint," we'll be all set.
There's so many other things. We see piles and piles of brand new signs here, always 40 miles an hour. And I see a few names of areas. That's probably, I don't know if that's an Ellenberg on the top, and Moores and Champlain and all kinds of stuff. But signage is another big part of what you do, isn't it?
Absolutely. All winter long they make signs. We actually have a sign shop right over here that we can go in where we fabricate these types of signs.
You make the signs here? I had no
Yes, we do.
idea.
We
Yeah.
got the blanks and the faces, and we have the equipment to put them on.
They cut the letters
special
out.
Signs, we make them out of silk screen materials. And, yeah, it's all done right here. That's our winter work, so we're ready
Not
for
that I didn't know you guys had a high-class operation here, but I'm very, very impressed by all the things you do, and I hope it's revealing and educational for our listeners, the big people and the little people. For our viewers who are out there now who have kids, little kids love big trucks, don't they?
Yes,
And
they
boy,
do.
they'd love to get a look at this truck. You see them next door at our fire department jumping up in the fire trucks. But highway trucks, wonderful. This is how your streets get painted. Maybe we can teach a fourth grade course in
Well, every once in a while, we'll get a request from Boy Scouts or some of the schools to send some kids down and take a look through the garage, and we give them a tour. And it's a lot of fun, actually. They enjoy getting up there.
talk about highways and highway safety and so many different factors involved. And it's pretty neat. People think we're packed away in some remote corner of northeastern New York, but we do a lot of things right here in Clinton County. You know that?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I didn't realize that myself until I started working for the highway department.
Yeah.
You just, like you say, you take it for granted.
Well, there would be no reason to know necessarily, except that this program likes to open doors and see what's going on the inside. Can we take a look at that sign shop?
Sure.
Let's
It's right
do it.
here around the corner.
All right, we're in the sign shop. One thing we mentioned as we turned the corner, and Calvin said, how long does it take for that paint to dry? And you said,
Oh, 10 to 15 seconds.
unbelievable. Does it really? And if it
Yeah.
takes longer, you have the following truck stay back far enough so it'll be dry by the time the cars get to it.
Absolutely.
Isn't that absolutely amazing to me? We got another Al here. How are you?
Fine.
What's your last name?
Miller.
Al Miller. Great. Thanks for having us in your little shop here. We didn't mean to put the pressure on you today, but what happens in here?
Usually we make all our signs that we use in the summer for summer re-signing or sign repairs.
Can you tell us how it works? We've been looking at some and
Yep, we have
underway.
it's a reflective sheeting. It's heat activated. So we basically put our sheeting on the blank, trim it, and then we bake the sheeting on, as you can see in the sign machine, which vacuums the air out between the film and the aluminum blank.
So that's when you're setting up over there, or it's all set to go, or what?
Well, I just have a few more letters to place on that one, but
So you can't put it all together yet, David.
well, we can bake it. We can bake it.
Oh, you can. All right. We can bake it. Maybe make some cookies while we're on the way. Oh,
Back in color.
I see.
Then actually have a machine over here which we cut our letters with. The
Oh, you
die
do?
cutter.
Ah.
Yeah, I'll show you.
All right. I'm following you, so don't lead me astray here.
These are sets of dies.
Oh,
And
wow.
we just put the sheeting down, run it through that machine that cuts our letters out for us. We have different sizes and series.
I had no idea. I thought this was all done somewhere else and got delivered here on a big truck somewhere. All right. So then we got this big machine over here. And let me get next to you so I can hear you. Then what?
Yep, and then basically while we measure out our letters, place our letters where we want them, and then this machine will come down and vacuum all the air out between the film and the blank,
Oh, I see.
and then the top part heats it. And then that activates the adhesive on the back of the lettering.
Is that just done with light bulbs up there?
Yes, yep,
You've got to be kidding. And that's
Yep.
enough heat to do it.
yep. There. See it vacuum the air right out.
That's sucking the air out.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it probably takes about 2 or 3 minutes, and then the letters will be adhered to the sign.
Now it doesn't. Now when you take that out, you'll have to add other letters to it. You said.
Right to finish the sign.
And it
yes.
doesn't hurt it to heat it
No,
twice.
no, it doesn't. No.
That's truly amazing. Now, do you get all the blanks already cut? You don't actually cut the blanks, right?
Well, we do cut some blank. Most of them we try and buy the right size, but if we have an odd size sign we want to make, and then we also do silk screening also.
You do.
Yes. Like a lot of these signs are.
Let me get over next to you.
We do a reflective sheeting like this, and we have silk screens upstairs, which we put in these clamps and put it down, and then you just squeegee the paint over the sign blank to get the.
Is this metal all the same gauge, or are they different thicknesses for different signs, or what?
Pretty much all the same gauge. Some of our larger size signs are thicker, like a .1. These are .08 gauge.
Seems to me like a sign like that would last quite a long time if people don't try to shoot it up with a shotgun or a 22.
Engineer grade sheeting is usually good for 7 years.
Is it really?
We have some that'll last a lot longer, depending on the weather. I mean, if they're facing the sun or getting rain constantly on them, they'll fade quicker naturally. But
We remember in other areas, seeing road signs and street signs that look so old you can hardly read them.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of municipalities don't have a lot of money to replace signs.
Right.
So they wait till the last minute. I know the city of Plattsburgh changed most of their street signs a few years ago, and then they were actually selling some of the old street signs as historical memorabilia.
Right. Yes.
And I think I got a Cornelia Street and a Broad Street in my garage somewhere.
We have a lot of people. A lot of them get stolen, or shot up, or snow plows. Naturally, a lot of damage, car accidents.
Give me a clue as to how these signs are erected. You have to drive a post in the ground first, or what?
Yes, we have a 3-foot 6-inch base post we drive in. Then there's a lap splice,
What's that mean?
It's like a metal bar and 2 soft bolts. And then the post is bolted onto the soft bolts, and they're made so if a car hits the post, they hinge down to the ground.
Oh, I don't think a lot of people are aware of that.
No, we just started a few years going over to those. Before we had the old steel angle posts, but you never knew what they were going to do when a car hit them. I mean, they might snap off or bend over the hood, or
Once again, for safety purposes.
right.
then.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's hope they don't hit them, but
Yep.
if they do, there's a chance of survival. Huh?
Yes. Yes.
That's pretty neat. And you have a lot of different kinds of signs, every size and shape imaginable. I think I can almost see a Pickett's Corners up there, can I?
Yes.
All
Yep.
right. The North Country names to me are absolutely incredible. When I first moved here, of course, Peasleyville was, I had never heard a name like that. And so I spent all those years on the radio picking on Peasleyville. But I mean, places like Cherubusco and Pickett's Corners and the local place names, some are named after people and some are named for other reasons,
Right.
you know. It's pretty neat. So a lot of the history of an area is actually in the names on the street signs, right?
Yes. Yep.
All right, so you stay in the shop here all the time, Al, or what?
No, pretty much just in the winter. And in the summer, we're out striping roads, and then traffic light. We also maintain traffic lights.
Well, that's something else I didn't think about. People see their traffic light, and most of the time it works. But it dawns on me, what kind of a light bulb must it take to keep a traffic light going?
Actually, they're pretty much a standard, just a heavier filament.
Yeah, let me get around here. I'm caught. There we go. If there's a way to get caught or wreck these microphones, I can do it. All right, I'm following you. What do you got here?
Basically here, this is we have this cabinet set up in here just to test parts or test programs out in here, but that's basically a cabinet that's out on a traffic light pole, and that operates.
Oh, it is?
This operates the whole signal basically. There's one of these mounted right on each signal at a pole. All your wiring comes into here. This is a microcomputer which basically tells your lights what to do.
Really?
All the programming, yes.
And it can be reset.
Yeah.
Imagine, you know, when I talked about a lot of science being involved in what happens in highways, you gotta know the frequency of the changing of the lights and so on, don't you?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Alan, he has this set up so he can troubleshoot some of the controllers we have if we have a problem with one. We keep spares here, so if traffic light has a problem, we switch the controllers, we bring it in, and he figures out everything is micro circuitry, so it's changing a board, so basically is what it is.
That's incredible. What are all these lights up here?
Well, that's his test lights. Right now, this light is set on flash, so you got one side flashing yellow, one side flashing red. And if it was a signal light, you'd have the red, yellow, green going in sequence on the alternate sides of the light.
See, somebody had to dream that board up somewhere along the way and say, okay, come on. Was that your baby?
No, actually it was the previous
Oh, it was?
sign maintenance supervisor, yes.
But it works.
Yes, it works good. Yep.
What's his name?
Leon Miller.
Oh, no.
Yep.
This was a family deal,
Yes.
right? That's very clever. That's amazing.
It works. It's much better to test like a program in here and check your timing out rather than out on the road and under a traffic situation.
I saw you run over and open the machine there. I didn't want your sign to get overdone, so we couldn't have it for lunch, you know. But let's go take a look at it and see if it's perfect. Hey, isn't that cool? Everything's nice and flat.
Yes. Yep.
Now, what else have you got to put on that one?
Line Mountain will be on the bottom.
Oh, we got to have
And then
Shazy
mileage.
Lake Line Mountain.
Now, I know Alan Miller here, so I want to know how often he misspells a name here.
Not too often, usually.
That can happen, though. I've seen that happen in other
It
areas.
happens very easily, actually.
Yeah.
But we usually check them before.
Yeah, especially with these.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got any Langlois roads, though.
No, we
You're
try
right.
to stay away from those.
Oh, I notice, roads that are named after families, and very often they are around the North Country, and some of them leave out a letter here and there because that's the way they spelled it in 1872. And boy, when we went to 911, how about the old signage took a beating in here, didn't we? Huh?
Alan had to change just about every road name sign there was in the county, and now we've got that done. We've had some minor changes over the years, but nothing too significant.
I bet you that was a hassle, and you're glad you're not over in Essex County where they're still
Yeah.
sweating it out.
Yes.
Yeah, 911, and you get people complaining because this street has been called so and so since 1812, and difference in the numbers on the houses and the whole 9 yards.
Well, some areas where we actually had a historical significance to the old road name, we've put the new road name up, and Alan came up with a way to install a second sign in like brown and yellow trim
Come on, are you kidding?
saying formerly whatever it happened to be.
No, I didn't know you did that. That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, it makes it a little less confusing, I guess.
How many of those do we have in the county? Quite a few.
There's probably been 3 or 4 roads, I believe, that we've done
I
that
don't
with.
believe. Now I'll have to go looking. I'm going to have to take my Sunday rides and go and. Can you think of any offhand?
Minor Farm Road. They changed like old Route 191 to Minor Farm, so.
Oh,
Nobody complained about that.
No.
not really, huh? Not more than 400 a day, right? Oh, gosh. But it is a consideration when you stop to think about it. People don't like their box number and their post office changed. They don't like their street number changed. They don't like, I'm never sure what to write on a physical address in front of my house. Is it West Main Street, Morrisonville? Is it Route 22B? Or what to call it? But so I put it all on. Post Office Box 92, West Main Street, Route 22B, Morrisonville.
Can't go
I'll do
wrong.
it till I run out of envelope, and then and then we're all right. Well, this is amazing. We've learned so much here in this shop here today, and so far on a tour of the Clinton County Highway Department. And what did you say that machine was over in the far end?
That's a metal shear, so that we can trim different size aluminum.
Or you can't.
Yeah.
This is all aluminum.
Yes. Yes.
Pretty heavy gauge, but yet still light enough so that.
Easier to work with, yeah. We used to have the old steel signs or plywood, but
Do you do actually most of the sign erection in the summertime unless something gets knocked down in the winter?
yes, yes. Yep, just sign repairs in the winter. And then in the summer, it's either re-signing or sign repairs or.
I've heard people who were in accidents saying, but officer, I didn't see a stop sign there. And sometimes it was knocked down for one, or stolen or something, and then you have to go out and replace it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a complaint system here in the front office. If we get a call, it's logged right away. If it's a stop sign, it's radioed to Alan. He takes care of it right off. I mean, that's
Stop signs are pretty important, as traffic lights are pretty important.
right. It's one of the few functions that we give a high priority to. I mean, stop signs, probably number one.
Caution, wear goggles when chipping or grinding. That's not a highway sign though, right?
It's to go on like the grinders in here, some of the equipment in here.
That makes sense. Got to cover various body parts all the time, don't you, huh? All right, what's next, Big Al?
Well, I think we'll probably take a walk out and see some of the equipment we got outside and take a look at the paving equipment and that type of thing.
I want to explain this four corner sign first.
Yeah, either way you go, it's the Shazy Lake Road, right?
Shazy Lake, it turns was stolen, and the town had picked it up for us and brought it back to their garage, and we in the meantime had went out and replaced them. So then the town had brought those back to us. So
So it doesn't actually go that way, does it, or does it?
yes, Shazy Lake Road comes up to Clark Hill Road, then it turns to the right. So
Oh.
yeah, we have a few roads like that that are.
There's a couple of roads up your way that do that were very. Your road does, and it was very confusing when he taught me how to go up through Miners and come up the back way. So wait a minute, what road? If that's a Ridge Road, what road am I on? Oh, I'm on the Ridge Road. Okay, yeah, well, Our founding fathers didn't know everything, right? Al Miller, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Didn't mean to put people on the spot, but oh yes, we did. We really did. Let's go outside and see what's going on. All right, we're outside and inside. We're all around the place. Where are we now?
Well, we're in there, what's called a cold storage building, 7,200 square feet. A lot of our seasonal equipment's parked in this building for the winter. Right here, we've got one of the most important pieces of equipment to the county highway department anyway, and that's our paver. And this thing sees action from May through August. Roughly 80,000 tons of asphalt went through it last year, and we're hoping to see that number go through it again this year.
These things must be really built. Otherwise you'd be on the highway fixing parts. These things must be very well built in the first place.
Absolutely. Well, this one here is only a year old now. It was brand new last year. We had a Barbara Green paver that was almost 30 years old, and
Wow.
we were starting to have a lot of breakdowns, but considering the usage, it held up real well. This one here, no breakdowns. We were cruising through the roads last year.
I don't know about cruising, but I bet you it worked very well. Give me a little bit of the process. What does it take when you have to pave a road? What do you do first?
Well, we actually start the year before. And then we go through, a crew cuts all the shoulders so the water can drain off the road into our ditches. Another crew starts working on the culvert pipes. Depending on where the road is or the conditions, replacing culvert pipes on the road takes anywhere from a week to a month. Some roads you have maybe 3 or 4 culverts in 10 miles, and a road like the Smith Road up in Ellenburg that we're doing this year had 32 bad culverts in 6 miles of road. So I mean, we have our work cut out for us. A lot of work goes into the road before this paver ever sees it. Once the shoulders are done, the culverts are done, and we recycle the asphalt. We don't pave over anything here. We don't tear it up.
You gotta be kidding. How does that work?
Well, that's by contract. There's a couple different methods. One is reclamation, where we have a contractor come in with a very large grinding machine. He grinds down through all the asphalt, mixes it with the base material. They re-oil it, and they roll it with like a 20-ton roller that follows that. Our crews do the grading behind them and follow them. And once that's done, then we pave like a binder and a top. So you have essentially a brand new road.
I had no idea that you recycled that stuff.
Oh yeah, and the other process, a lot of that we use on some of the better conditioned roads or where it's suitable. It's off state contract. They come in with a 150-foot long reclaiming train where they take 5 inches of asphalt up, they put it through a mixer, they re-oil it. If they have to have stone added to it, they add stone, then they put it back down, and then again, they roll that with a 20-ton roller, and it gives you a binder material that we put a top coat over as the finishing coat once they're done. We have to wait 10 days. It's got a curing time on that process.
And Mother Nature is fickle, and she can still wreck a highway like that in almost no time at all, can't she?
Yes, she can. You get the floods, although they held up pretty well. We had some minor damage to some roads we had just done.
People don't realize that, and I wish programs like this were shown in larger cities and metropolitan areas outside the North Country, because they don't. People especially down south in warmer climates that have a more consistent temperatures throughout the year, have no idea what we have to go through just to maintain up here, do they, David?
No, they don't. Especially when it comes to the snow and ice. You always hear of the the areas down south getting an inch or two of snow and closing down for a couple of days, and here that's just status quo.
We get a yard or two of snow, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll close down, and maybe we won't.
That's right. That's right.
But a lot of times, Al, the reason for closing down, like Jim King, I was talking with him this morning, he declared a state of emergency, and that is to legally prevent people from driving on the highways. And yes, of course, it's for their own safety. But number two, it's so guys like you can get the job done.
Well, and I talk to Jim fairly frequently, and during this last storm, I actually asked him, I said, you need to do something to keep these cars off the road, because our plows are having a hard enough time. Well, everyone is having a hard enough time with visibility and getting this snow back. And what was starting to happen was people were getting stuck in the road. And of course, we're coming along with the plows, and it's well, for one thing, safety is an issue, but we're not able to clean the snow and move move it back with that car blocking the area.
I think you guys all did a tremendous job during that snowstorm, but I've watched you in operation for a long time because we still have, even though we don't have an air base anymore, we still have a lot of critical functions that have to be applied. People who work in police agencies and other safety agencies have to get to work. Hospital employees have to try to get to work.
Absolutely.
So you got to do your best to get the job done as quickly and as safely as possible. And I think all things considered, when you look back at this latest storm, in spite of the fact that it caught some people off guard, I think overall it was a pretty darn good job, don't you?
Well, I think people are fortunate. This last storm could have been far more devastating. A lot of the road crews got out real early. They stayed ahead of it, and even though road conditions were hazardous throughout a lot of the day, by 5 o'clock that night, things were looking up.
Yeah, we're recording this on the 19th day of March 2001. It'll be shown this year sometime after the actual recording date and in other years in the future, just to show what things were like in the Clinton County Highway Department in 2001. They do change over the years, how people deal with things. A lot of this equipment we have in this barn, for example, is state-of-the-art. What's this thing, right? What's this white truck?
That's our vac truck. It's a street sweeper. We use that in the spring. It's got an attachment on the back where we clean out some of our underground storm drainage systems, catch basins, that type of thing.
What the heck is a DI?
Drop inlet.
Is that what that
just-
means? I've heard all these highway people talk about, we gotta fix the DIs, and I had no idea what that
A
meant.
fancy name for the grate over the drain.
Oh, is that the grate over the drain? All right. Spade is a spade, a drain over the drain. Well, that's what you do. You have to clean them out.
Every year we have to vacuum them out. A lot of the sand from the wintertime, if they go several years, we'll start to plug them up, and we clean all the lines. We have a jet truck that has a sewer attachment, a nozzle attachment to it, so we can put high pressure water through the pipes and clean them out, and then at the other end we vac it out with this truck while it's doing
That's
it.
very important that you talk about culvert systems and DIs and underground drainage systems. That's another thing that we as drivers and homeowners take completely for granted until one gets plugged up. But they better work when they're needed. In a lot of areas, in some cities we see where they don't have drainage or proper drainage, then they get the super flooding or something, and boy, they're in big, big trouble.
Oh, absolutely. And even in the wintertime, we spend a lot of time making sure those grates are open and water is draining off the roads, particularly this time of year.
Well, you talked about all those culverts needing help on that one road you just mentioned a few minutes ago. Why was that? Why so many on one road all at one time?
That was the road that got hit fairly hard by the flood.
Floods.
Yeah, and a lot of the metal culverts that were underneath it, they might have been good for another 10 years, and they're starting to deteriorate in 4. But the other thing is before we pave a road, the road's got a 12-year life to it after we pave it. So any culvert on that road, it's not going to last 12 to 15 years. We change it out anyway. So it may have a 10-year life, but we're going to change it.
Yeah, I can understand why you would want to make the plan ahead of time so you don't have to go back and backtrack and dig that road up for any reason.
That's right. And we've switched all plastic, the HD PE pipe, which is good for 50, 60 years now versus
Is it
the metal.
really?
That's right. Yep.
That's incredible. So what else is in this barn? What's this big tank truck over here?
Well, that's our fuel truck. It carries diesel and unleaded fuel. Used primarily in the summer construction season. Our crews, once they're out in the work zones, we don't bring all the equipment back here to the garage. We have crew cabs or patrol trucks that transport the men. Equipment stays on site, and when they need fuel, that truck is dispensed here from the garage, and it delivers what they need.
Stays full all the time?
Absolutely. Yes, it does.
Ready to go, no matter
Full
what,
right now.
huh? Anything else in here that we ought to talk about?
Well, actually, pretty much other than the mowing equipment, that's about it. We keep some of our roadside mowers. Every year we mow both roadsides of all the county road system one time, and we start the second pass sometimes towards the fall.
How far do you have to mow? Is that a set distance on each side of the road?
We try to go 15 feet back.
Do you?
Yeah, just mainly to keep the brush back and the signs visible and anything from encroaching on the shoulder.
We like this Adopt a Highway campaign where certain organizations adopt a specific length of highway. We see it not only here in Clinton County but elsewhere, and they actually get out there a couple of times a year and get their bags and their little sharp sticks and pick things up, and it does make for more scenic areas, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, and actually it's a help to us too, because that's one less road or stretch of road that we have to do every year.
Yeah, we see it on one of the magazine shows on TV a few weeks ago, Adopt a Highway program, and they didn't hold any punches. These big organizations were adopting these highways, and then they were farming it out to somebody else, hiring crews to go and pick them up, and of course they didn't pick them up. Everybody took the money and ran. And so the Adopt a Highways had greater garbage limits than any other highways in the world. And fortunately, that wasn't anywhere near here. I'm guessing it was in Southern California or some far distant place that I hope will never see this program. But here in the North Country, we're pretty good at it, and I do commend the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and the civic organizations and Lions clubs and other organizations that do adopt our highways, because we are trying to put up a good front, a good face for the people here. We're desperate for those tourism dollars, and when people come to visit us, either in the wintertime for all the great things we have to offer in the wintertime, but in our beautiful but way too short summers, we want to put up our best face for them, don't we?
Absolutely, and we have a lot of fraternities and sororities at Plattsburgh State.
Oh yeah,
that
too. That's great too.
Yep.
These are kids that don't necessarily live here, but appreciate what they have here, and that's why I always like to pick up the Press Republican and see a letter from somebody who graduated from here 10 years ago saying, "I haven't been back in a while, and what a neat place it is in Plattsburgh, and I relish. So happy for the 4 years that I spent there, or week and a half, depending on how long they made it through our school." But it is. Calvin and I decided when we started doing this program a long time ago, and I'm sure he did with the late Bob Venn, it's a good idea to pat ourselves on the back every once in a while, because we do have a very special little corner of the globe here in the North Country. You guys have chosen to stay here, Calvin and I have, and a lot of other people have, so we better take care of it.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here to do.
You've done a great job. What's next?
Well, pretty much that's the bulk of the facilities
That's the
down
tour,
here
huh?
at Plattsburgh.
All right, let's just look around here.
Around the yard, we've got some of our equipment over there. That's the dozer, summertime work. One of our snow plows that's spare, sitting, waiting maintenance. We have the road graders. That's pretty much everything.
And you've
that's
got
around
some
here.
piles of material. Do you have all your own
We keep-
salt piles and stuff? Or?
We keep our main pile up at Ellenburg. We haul it down here as we need it in Plattsburg.
Yeah, once again, that's something you have to figure out ahead of time. How much salt are we going to need? And we've seen a few crises in the past.
Right.
You know, it's sometimes the places where you get the salt are running out of salt, and
Now, that was a rumor this year that everybody was running out of salt, but
didn't work. Right?
didn't
That's
happen
right.
as far as I know. Whenever we called for delivery, it came the next day, and everything was right on schedule.
You do a lot of business with the local quarries, right? Or do you?
Oh, the asphalt.
Asphalt?
Right. Now, like I said, last year was 80,000 tons, so it's over $2 million with the local quarry.
Yeah, we went in there and did one of our earlier programs there, and it happened to be one of the good ones. And I always watch people watching television to see what they're interested in, and kids love that because the big, huge equipment and the rock crushing and the big trucks going down in and dynamiting and the whole 9 yards. And then we got to watch those big asphalt machines making the asphalt. That's
Pretty
kind
impressive.
of an incredible process.
Yes, it is. A lot of quality control is required there to make sure you get the proper mix. Yep.
Well, I think if we've proved nothing else here today, David, we've proved that we're part of a North Country family. And a lot of organizations, Clinton County Highway Department isn't the only one taking care of roads around here. But, no one business or organization or individual can take care of all business. It takes a lot of working together, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. Everybody needs to help everybody out, not just in a time of need, but for the little things also. You create yourself a working relationship with the different organizations, different towns, the state, the city, so we all can, help each other out when we actually need it. We proved that during the ice storm. We've proved ourselves during floods. And I'm not talking just about Clinton County Highway Department, but the towns, the state, everybody working together to try to get the roads open, to make the roads safe again for the traveling public.
I think that's a good lesson for us to end our program on today. Is to, some people just want to complain about something when they get out of bed in the morning, and some people want to thank somebody for a job well done. And I want to thank you guys for a job well done, and in turn, all the rest of your staff and the people who you work with throughout the year. I think it certainly makes me feel better when somebody tells me I did a good job than when I did a lousy job. And although if things are wrong somewhere in Clinton County and in terms of what you do, you want to know about it.
No, absolutely.
But it's awful nice when people say, yeah, you did a good job. And I know you can look back on what we hope is the waning end of the winter of 2000 and 2001 and say, yeah, I guess we did okay this year. That's pretty good.
We did fine. Anytime I hear I did a good job, I know everybody underneath me made me look good. So that's my cop out right there.
Didn't you know that's why you're here, David?
Yes.
You stroke it for me, and I'll... Anyway, folks, thank you so much for viewing this program called Our Little Corner. We hope you enjoyed this one inside the Clinton County Highway Department with Al Rasco and Dave Langlois. Thanks to all the people who either chickened out and ran into the hallways and closets when they saw us coming down. Those people we didn't get to talk to, all the big people and the little people with this organization and throughout the North Country. Yes, it is a great place to live and work. And who knows where we're going to be next time for our